Hello, everybody, and welcome to our Q1 release webinar for HxDR Reality Cloud Studio. My name is Paul Burrows, but a bit more about that in a minute. I want to introduce you to today's session, which is all about enriching the context of your reality capture projects with the latest HxDR capabilities. So we're going to run through some really cool things today. We have obviously a customer success segment. We're going to look at GeoTags. We're going to look at scenes. We're going to look at some new stuff that's coming on the platform side as well. So bear with us. If you've got any questions, feel free to drop them in your GoToWebinar widget. So let's start with a brief introduction of what we are going to cover today. Well, first up, it's who's going to be covering that with you, and that's me, Paul Burrows. Hopefully you've heard of me before. If not, then welcome. I am the Senior Technical Sales Manager in the EMEA region for Reality Cloud Studio. I've been working with reality capture technology for about 23 years, which seems an incredible long time, and also 19 years now with Hexagon, working with Leica Geosystems and Hexagon Geosystems. So my job is to effectively help people adopt our cloud solutions technology, but also Leica Cyclone 3DR, CloudWorks, Register 360, Cyclone FIELD 360, all of those other solutions which feed into the reality capture ecosystem. So welcome along today. So what we're going to look at now is the agenda. First up, we're going to talk to a lady called Elizabeth McReynolds from McNeil Engineering in Utah in the USA. They've been using Reality Cloud Studio for quite some time now. It's an example of one of their projects on the right-hand side. And yeah, she's just going to take us through how they use the product, why they use the product, some examples, the time savings, the cost savings. Then one of our big improvements with this release is scenes. So we're going to be talking about scenes, and I'll keep everything under wraps until we hit that segment. GeoTags becoming increasingly important for lots of customers. So we're going to be covering our GeoTag enhancements. Then there's some updates on the infrastructure side. So in terms of speed of our point cloud performance, account level insights and reporting, which has been requested a lot. Also our new Australia data center. And of course, as I said before, if you have any questions, just drop them in the widget and we'll get back to you as soon as we possibly can. So yeah, without further ado, let's jump into our customer success session with Elizabeth McReynolds, and then we'll start the new features element as soon as that session is completed. So I'll hand you over to this section now. Okay, guys, now we're going to have a fantastic session with Elizabeth McReynolds from McNeil Engineering. And she's going to go through and she's going to talk all about, firstly, herself and give a lovely introduction to herself and the company. But then she's going to go through and talk about how they've adopted HxDR Reality Cloud Studio, how it integrates with all their existing systems, the problems it solves, and the efficiency gains that have been made as part of the adoption. So welcome, Elizabeth. Thank you for joining us.
Hi, Paul. Thank you so much for having me.
That's right. All the way from Utah, is that right?
All the way from Salt Lake City, Utah.
Exactly, which I hear is beautiful. My wife really wants to go to Salt Lake City. So yes, maybe I'll come and visit your offices at some point.
Yes, but, please do. Just not in the winter when we have all of the inversion problems. No, gorgeous all the other times.
Right, okay, I'm going to hand over to you to do the introduction, Elizabeth. So I'm just going to, what I'll do is I'll just hit the slide to start, and then you can talk through this. But yeah, I'll let you do your introduction, and then as we go through, obviously I've got lots of questions for you, and feel free to respond how you want. So over to you.
Awesome. Thanks again, Paul. Well, like Paul mentioned, my name is Elizabeth McReynolds, and I work for a company called McNeil Engineering, based in the Salt Lake Valley. We have been offering our professional services since 1983. For me personally, I have been working with McNeil for almost 15 years. This April, I believe. I started when I was 15, 16 as a part-timer, and then I went full-time when I turned 18 and graduated from high school. I'm currently at Utah Valley University working on my PLS to be a professionally licensed land surveyor. But what is cool about my job title is I am currently a project manager and also a high definition scanning technician, but laser scanning has always been a part of my career, so to speak. And so I have watched the technology evolve for years. I haven't known this profession without high definition scanning technology, right? So it's been cool to watch it kind of grow with me in a career aspect. Outside of work, I'm a wife and a mom. I have 2 young boys, 5 and 3, so I'm constantly busy. I'm
Yes,
constantly doing something.
and it, not only is it the most important, but it's the busiest job, I imagine, out of everything.
Absolutely.
Yeah, no,
Absolutely.
that's fantastic, and I think it's amazing that you're doing your PLS as well. That's that's a really nice personal professional and personal qualification to get. I think what's really nice as well is your experience is you have seen rapid change in those 15 years of technology.
Absolutely.
So, I mean, I've been dealing with laser scanning for about, I think, probably 22, 23 years now in its various forms. And if you just think where we've come from in that time, even
Oh,
I mean, now
absolutely.
and now the changes are happening so rapidly. Every
Mhm.
few months there's something new, some new rendering tech, some new capture technology. So, yeah, I mean, I guess you've had an exciting career so far, is your assessment.
Absolutely.
Good,
Yes.
good, good. And then just to tell us a little bit more about McNeil Engineering then. So obviously, yeah, number of people, where you are, the types of jobs and clients that you work with.
Yes, absolutely. So McNeil Engineering as a whole, we offer land surveying, obviously, and then we have civil and structural engineering as well
Mhm.
as landscape architecture and a consulting department, and they deal
Wow.
with roofs and parking lots and matters like that.
Hmm.
And then, of course, high definition scanning services, and we do offer drones as well. The
Hmm.
surveyors handle the scanning and the droning. So um, like I mentioned previously, we are located in the Salt Lake Valley, and we have been in business since 1983. So
Do
we
you,
do a bunch of stuff. We surveyors, we do ALTA surveys,
mhm.
topographic surveys, we do construction staking, as-builts, boundary surveys. We have quite the
Everything, everything.
everything. Yeah, everything. We
Yeah,
we
it
we do it
sounds.
all. So
Yeah, it does sound like you cover everything. I was going to say full stack. Yeah, it's full stack. You've got
yes,
absolutely everything there.
yes,
Do you
absolutely.
cover anything outside of states? Do you cover or do you cover the whole of the USA?
Yes, actually, so not the whole of the USA, but we do work in Idaho,
Hmm.
Nevada. I'm trying to
Hmm.
think off of the top of my head. Utah, Idaho, Nevada. Those are the main ones, and some in Colorado as
Yeah.
well. So
Okay.
we're kind of in our corner of the world. We have done scanning services outside of the United States and in more states than the ones I included originally.
Hmm.
But that would be limited to laser scanning. Still cool, still awesome. But so yeah, we do a bunch of stuff in a bunch of places.
No, no, I mean, it's amazing, and when you start learning about these companies, I mean, there's lots of similar companies of a similar profile in the UK, for example, and it's amazing when you start drilling into the services they offer. Because you just mentioned casually, oh, landscape architecture or something, and I'm like, it's
Yes,
just a
yes,
whole other thing. But it does tie back into surveying, right? Because
yes,
it has to be set out and it has to look good and it has it's got its roots
yes.
in the geomatic side. So that's really really interesting. Right. So what we'll do now is going to dive into some of these challenges that you face on a daily basis, and then we'll work through how HxDR Reality Cloud Studio, or the cloud connected ecosystem from Hexagon Geosystems, helps you. So high volume scanning projects, manual data sharing, heavy IT demands, time intensive deliverables. I'll let you tackle that slide, how you want to tackle it, and I'll ask you some questions, Elizabeth.
Absolutely. So previous to Reality Cloud Studio, and as many of you know, if you know any of you work with scans, you know how large the files can be. And
Mhm.
when I say files, I'm referring to the deliverable files. So anything from 100, like the slide mentions, 100 to 1,000 setups, it's going to be time consuming just to get the deliverable to your client. Now, I have 2 types of clients. I have ones that are internal, where we use the data for internal projects, whether it be our civil department, the surveyors, whatever it may be. The internal ones are not so time consuming in that matter. However, I have some external clients who I delivered the data to so that they can use themselves.
Mhm.
And previous to that, it could take anywhere from 4 to 10, just depending on not only the size, but how technology is behaving that day, what the Wi-Fi
Mhm.
is like.
Mhm.
Um, manually copying and doing all of these different things to get this reliable copy of this cloud to the client. Now, I also, we mentioned, you know, heavy IT demands. I have a subset of clients who requires the panoramic images that are embedded in each setup that we take out in the field with our Leica scanners. Now, previous to Reality Cloud Studio, previous to that wonderful LGSX export and upload, I would, in addition to, you know, exporting a copy of the cloud itself, I would have to create panoramic a panoramic exhibit where I would basically, you know, export and put all of my scanning locations on a PDF and embed pictures into there, you know. And in order for that to work, I had to create HTML links that I would host on my website. So it was just, you know, when you finish, you know, you finish the meat of a job, you finish the meat of a project, and you have to do something like that, it's time consuming. You know, the real project is done itself. So just to be able to, you know, send our client a link along with a reliable copy of the cloud has just, it's freed up so much of my time. It's freed up so much of my time to focus on other important
and that's perfect. And I think what you're nailing there. It's all, you know, it's all time. What is time? It's money. And it's time taken away from other projects, right? So, and I think exactly, you know, really, you know, lots of people are scanning big projects, right? That's a given. Manual data sharing, I think lots of people used to, you know, handing out, you know, an E57 or, you know, another format from another, you know, provider. So, and I think your comment around LGSX is really pertinent, because loads of people now come to us and say, I want an LGS-centric workflow because I know that I can use it in all these different places. You know, not only push it to Reality Cloud Studio, but I can open it locally if I need to. I can open it in a viewer. I can open it in CloudWorks. So I think there's huge benefit. And also, LGSX files are typically smaller. You know, they are actually, there's so much data and metadata. So I think this is, what is the solution? You know, how does HxDR Reality Cloud Studio help you? So again, the big titles: centralized data workflows, automated deliverable, enhanced accessibility, simple collaboration. So I think let's just break down those boxes a little bit further, and then we can move to the time saved and the efficiency gains and stuff in the next slide. So, do you, as well as sharing the data, right, and collaborating, are you doing anything currently where you're connecting via CloudWorks and streaming data into your CAD systems as well for digitizing and BIM creation yet, or not?
Yeah, so we do have the option in CloudWorks. We're lucky that most of our internal workers have access to the LGSX file most of the time. But just having that option available in case, you know, our server was down or the file was uncopyable for some reason. I specifically have somebody who works out of state in our department from home remotely, and she's my go-to gal when it comes to, you know, drafting on clouds, because like I mentioned earlier, I do deliver point clouds externally, but we use a lot of point clouds internally as well. It helps so much with an ALTA survey where you have a complicated building, or, you know, you have a topographic survey it needs to be extremely detailed. Scanning is the way to go. So when I have somebody drafting who doesn't necessarily have access to our servers all the time, having the option of connecting to Reality Cloud Studio is always there for her as a backup, which is wonderful.
Perfect. Well, that's I mean, that's exactly what we've intended, right? I call it, you know, this hexagon cloud connected ecosystem, right? The reality capture ecosystem, because once it's in Reality Cloud Studio, you're sending the links, you're streaming the data to CloudWorks, you're streaming it to 3DR. I mean, ultimately streaming it to other hexagon connected products as well. So yeah, I think that's really helpful. But you know, a lot of customers we do have. You mentioned maybe you've got one or two subcontractors working externally. We've got some people and they've got hundreds of subcontractors, and they're global. So, you know, and now there's free versions of CloudWorks now as well. So there's CloudWorks Viewer for AutoCAD, Revit. There'll be one for Navisworks. So that just removes the barrier. And because there's no streaming charges for Reality Cloud Studio, you don't get charged. You know, there's no cost to you once the data's up there and all those people are working with the data. So I think that's really important.
Yeah. So, and to clarify a bit, when I said two clients, I meant more like we have two types of clients where, we have our internal, where we give clouds to maybe a civil engineer. I have a civil engineer who loves to look at the clouds himself, and instead of, if he has a question, he can just refer to them. But we have a separate set of clientele, where we have multiple clients who I am giving these links to, who just want the HDS data for themselves, right? So I'm able to give these clients links all across the board, which is incredible.
Yeah, no, that's pretty. I mean, I think it's just removing that friction, isn't it? It's just trying to make that as seamless as possible. So, we said here enhanced accessibility. How have you had customer feedback regarding accessing the data through the browser?
Yeah, I've had some positive feedback. Once they understood and they got over the PDF. Once they understood what it actually was and what it is that I was sending them, and I was able to walk a couple of our clients through, they were like, oh, I understand. This is cool. So as soon as I was able to explain, walk them through it, and kind of show it to them, they were like, oh, this is great.
Oh, sorry, go on. You carry on.
Oh, no, you're good. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, I was going to say, we had a customer the other day, and I said, how's your customer getting on with Reality Cloud Studio? And he said, they really love it, but they don't know why they love it. And I thought that was great, because he was like, we know it's really good. We can't put our finger on exactly why, but they were the same. They come from a different method of viewing the data, so maybe a little bit more traditional. But and then collaboration, obviously, I think you've already covered all of this. So, this is really for you. I think the big thing here that I take off this slide is that single export to LGSX, which, and like you said, you've then got the backup of the LGSX locally for some of those users. You're using the same file on the cloud. If you want to, you can open the same file in Cyclone 3DR. You can even send that same file and use it with the TrueView desktop viewer as well. So, there's so much versatility with using that file, which is really helpful. So good. I'm glad that we worked our way through that one. I think that's really helpful. So now we really move into the values and what this is giving for giving you as an organization. And I say as an organization, but also you, because I think what's your gut reaction to how this is helping you?
Well, first off, I would just like to say I don't have to run to Best Buy and buy hard drives anymore, which I absolutely love.
You've saved on some gas costs there.
Exactly. So I mean, mostly kind of referring back to the archaic way of what we were doing before with uploading panos. I mean, on the surface it kind of sounds, oh, you're just embedding a link into a pano, but really you have to convert your panoramic images to an HTML, and then you have to upload those to the FTP, and then you have to make export your scanning locations, embed them in a PDF, make sure that looks appropriate and nice enough to send to a client, and then every single scan, taking your little cursor and embedding the correct, the corresponding and correct HTML into that PDF. And God forbid you mess up and you put a different scan in a different location, right? So this not only is it easier and saves me so much time, but it's also, I don't have to account for, any mistakes. The nut behind the wheel, so to speak, didn't accidentally put station, setup 6 picture in station 10. So there's a bunch of little things that add up. Like that.
That's it. It's that the cumulative effect of
Yes,
and I
exactly.
one of a sales training guy told me years ago, and I loved it. This whole thing of incremental gains. If you can just be 1% better every day somehow in something, 1% more efficient, then it just all stacks up, and you end up seeing it. And I guess you're at the point now where you've invested the time and energy, and you are starting to see the gains.
Yes, absolutely. And like I mentioned before, I apologize if I'm starting to sound like a broken record, but we would host those images on our website. And so I would constantly get, our buddy Cade here, he would constantly be like, well, the website is getting a little, and the thing is with, hosting those things on the website, giving a client a PDF, say in 2018, and for some reason they want, almost 8 years later or whatever the math is there, they want to reference that PDF again. And I had to remove those panoramic images because we can no longer store them on our website. In Reality Cloud world, that's not a concern for me. anymore.
Yeah,
It's not a
absolutely.
concern of, oh, you have a time limit of, 5 to 6, 7, whatever years before my website fills up again and I have to remove some images. It just makes it so that, once you have this product, it's hosted online, it's out of our hair, and it's not, I'm not having somebody say, "Ooh, our website is running really slow because of the surveying department," So, and I'm like, I have to decide what to delete. Hopefully these people in 2017 don't need this anymore. So, it's more confidence when I'm delivering this deliverable as well,
I
that,
think,
hey, here you
yeah,
go. This is
you,
tangible for a while, forever.
yeah, and you hit the nail on the head there with that confidence bit. I think that is it really.
Yes.
And I think the other thing, we pride ourselves on being, we're a big organization, we're a strong organization. I think that's why lots of people like Reality Cloud Studio, because they know they've got the backing. And also, again, like I talked about this Hexagon cloud connected ecosystem, and you've got all the hardware and the software, but leaning hard into the fact that we want people to bring in their data from all their other sensors, and there's so much happening around drone data, GPR data, survey data. All this stuff is going to holistically get more and more important within the cloud infrastructure. Without saying too much, obviously, but for someone like you who's handling all these different types of data sets, that's going to bring even more value later on.
Oh, well, and absolutely. And so bridging off of that, we also, like I mentioned, we offer LiDAR droning services. And, previously, if the, owner or client or whoever wanted a copy of the image that the drone took, what did you have to do? You had to upload that giant TIFF file on yet again another hard drive,
or another location. Yeah,
or
exactly,
another location, or whatever it may be. And now, you can convert that file into a file that's compatible with Reality Cloud Studio. Boom. They have their picture, they have their image, all in a link. It's also good for marketing purposes too. Like if you want to be able to show somebody, what you do and what your company is capable of, look at this link.
And whilst we've been talking, there'll be some videos and images that we've shown of your projects, so people can see some of the stuff that you've created directly within the platform as well. So that I guess that's another angle, isn't it? The marketing aspect for you. It's very easy, because we've seen people as well. You can take the data, you can take those public links and just do an iframe embed into your web page. So they go to your laser scanning page, and boom, there's an asset that they can start looking at and viewing. And because there's no streaming costs, it doesn't matter how many people are there looking.
Exactly.
So yeah, it does add another angle there. But look, I think that's been really, really helpful, Elizabeth. So thank you very much for your time today. So I think we'll wrap up here now. I've got plenty to talk about the new features in the rest of the webinar. Yeah, thank you for your time. Hopefully you'll enjoy these new features that are coming. They'll make your life even easier as well.
Yes, I'm excited to explore them.
Yeah, but yeah, so for everyone who's listened, send your thanks. You can connect with Elizabeth on LinkedIn as well. I'm sure she won't mind, and follow McNeil Engineering. But yeah, we'll keep close and working with you, Elizabeth, and listening to your feature requests and your wishes as you grow. But yeah, thank you very much for your time today, and we'll speak to you very, very soon.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Paul. I appreciate it.
Cheers. Thank you. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Well, I hope you agree that conversation with Elizabeth was really, really interesting. I mean, her enthusiasm for reality capture technology is infectious. She's been using it for such a long time, and from the very beginnings of her role. So she's seen this kind of push towards the cloud, and obviously is very happy now that she's got this repository for all of her reality capture data. So let's start up with our first section, which is all about scenes. We already had scenes, which was the ability to bring together 3D model data and a reality capture project. You could view that in context, or you could obviously do an inspection. So you can actually run an inspection to show the differences between those two. But what we're going to look at today is just some of those challenges of disconnected data sets and teams and insights, and how do scenes resolve that. So, obviously siloed project context, inefficiency and scalability challenges, how do we go beyond collaboration, and also limited visibility into design, real world issues and progress. So, I think the big one here is, siloed project context, the ability to bring together all of the information, your UAV data, your terrestrial data, perhaps mobile mapping data, meshes, models, all of that into one space is something that is, inherently lacking, and that's something that this new scenes capability brings. Sometimes teams struggle to view this data in context, so really Reality Cloud Studio and the new scenes capability simplifies that. but also obviously you can scale it as well. You can bring in lots and lots of data. We have some fantastic management tools as well, which we'll talk about in a few slides. I love this comment though, in the going beyond collaboration box. There's a gap between everyone can look at the data and a team can actively and simultaneously work on it. It's all very well and good sharing, but what can we actually do with that data? How can we make inferences? How can we put that data to work? So that's something that we're going to cover as well as part of today's session. Now, obviously, we talk about single source of truth, but this one source of truth with scenes, with full geospatial workspaces. So it's unlimited project context. We can pull in all these different elements. Theoretically, there's no limit to the number of different elements that you can bring in. You load in all of your different assets. You can build a project from those assets directly, or you can create a blank workspace and drag and drop your content into a scene. It's incredibly scalable. If you've already used Reality Cloud Studio, it's an incredibly easy platform to learn. There's loads of guided tours, but it's pretty simple in terms of getting up and running with very, very familiar interface if you're used to 3D data. So we're able to navigate these big complex scenes, and also we have tools to group your elements within your scenes, so it makes it much, much easier to navigate. And again, beyond the collaboration aspect and the data sharing is actually the ability to also run those inspections like I mentioned previously. So the ability to show where the differences are. Now, this will get more and more complex over time with better reporting. For now, it's very much a visual representation to quickly show where the problems are. And then, of course, you can use GeoTags in context with that to kind of highlight any problems potentially. But yeah, it really is about moving very, very quickly towards finding a resolution and working with that data. So we're going to watch a very, very quick video now, which will just show you some of this new capability. So the first thing is we've got the ability to create an empty scene or a scene from a current project. So you can then just pick up everything you've already uploaded, and if it's all in the same coordinate system, it will just pull it together. So what you can see here now is the grouping functionality. So we're able to grab different assets and we can put them into a group. And then we can split that up and turn the visibility off accordingly. But what you're looking at there is a city mapper mesh, BLK to fly, terrestrial data, base mapping. Here again, you've got your city mapper mesh, you've got a BIM model that's been imported, they're in the same location. This is all in Heerbrugg in Switzerland. And of course, this is just to show the context of measurement between those two assets. Obviously, the one on the right is a pretty low poly model, but it just is to show that we have that full interaction between all those data sets. And if it was all in the right coordinate system, you'd see those coordinates there as well. Another thing that we can do, of course, is share. So you just jump in, you create your scene share, you choose if an expiration date, and you can specify that, and then you can just send that link to anyone. They'll be able to jump to that scene and see that information. So there's a lot of stuff within scenes. We're not going to show it today, of course, because there's a limited amount of time. But really, it's a very, very powerful tool to contextualize your data, but also to share and collaborate that data with your entire team as well. Now, this is a really important part of our workflow. So we're now going to talk about GeoTags. And obviously, this is all about creating smarter projects, asset management, facilities management. There's a huge boom we're seeing in our customers using GeoTags as we democratize the use of them across all the different parts of the ecosystem. So what are the current challenges in terms of data context? I think the 3 I's here: inefficient, insufficient, and incomplete. What are the issues that stop us making the most of the data that we've put into the cloud and maybe streaming into other places? So, again, breaking these down: lost context slows down work, information can be lost between teams, insufficient enterprise system integration, or maybe downstream inefficiency. So, if you think about potential, the lost context aspect, where is a particular asset? It's all very well and good having this fantastic dense 3D data set, but unless we can identify things quickly, it really does slow down work. And that goes down, that's the same for this handover. You're going from survey crew, you're going to CAD teams, you're going to the office teams, the facilities management, making sure all of those GeoTags are maintained through that whole process so that the person in the field collecting it has the same access to the same information as the person who is ultimately viewing it in one of a cloud system down the line. So GeoTags for me are a hugely important way of not only growing interaction but engagement and getting more people using the data, because they're really simple, they're really powerful. So if we look at GeoTags from an end-to-end perspective here, imagine you are out in the field with Field 360 and you're scanning with an RTC 360 or a BLK 360. You can collect those GeoTags and assign them to 3D points. We'll look at a video in a minute to show this in more detail. You can then process that, import that to Register 360 Plus. You can obviously make edits there if you want to, but you can then export that as an LGSX file, which, by the way, is just growing in popularity, becoming an even more powerful file format. Now, you might want to open that in TrueView Desktop, which of course you can do. You can also edit your GeoTags there, and you can resave a new LGSX if you wanted to. But now, of course, we can import, we can upload to Reality Cloud Studio. And once it's in Reality Cloud Studio, again, we can edit, we can create, we can also stream. So if we have our CloudWorks plugins and you're using what's called TrueSpace in CloudWorks, you can actually see those GeoTags within the TrueSpaces and click on them and get information. So it really is creating a truly connected ecosystem around the GeoTags. And that's what I'm excited about as we grow this solution. So what's new in terms of unlimited GeoTag improvements? The first one is categorizations. So we now have unlimited categories per project. So we have a dedicated UI to manage categories, and you can choose between free text or a list. And under the list view now, we've got an unlimited list value. So this is like, for example, you might want to put in conditions, or you might want to create object type and have all the different object types listed in there. You can fully customize all your coding, and you can customize the order of your list values, and you can preview those list values. So you'll see the colors of the top 3 list values when you hover over a GeoTag. So, if it is as simple as something like red, amber, green, for example, you'll see those and you'll be able to see that information. We can have unlimited attachments per GeoTag. So this is any file format, and you can see the attachment count on your GeoTag card. And when you hover over the GeoTag in the 3D space, and also now when you hover over certain formats in the left-hand panel, or click them, sorry, for example, it will actually open up a preview of that without having to download the GeoTag. So you just see your PDF or your image file directly within the browser window instantaneously. And you can also have unlimited links as well as unlimited attachments. So and you now see the link count on the GeoTag list as well. So a lot of that information about what's included in the GeoTag is on the initial GeoTag card without having to click through and get more information. But we've made a lot of changes here to really smooth this off. So how do we maximize our data, create full context? Obviously, we'll want to enhance our organization and information accessibility. And like I said, with the unlimited categories per project, that really helps because we can build out our category list to exactly align to your needs as a business. We want to streamline deliverable creation and maintenance operations. I think really what I'm seeing a lot of is people coming to us and they want an end-to-end tool, and they want to be able to hand off that data at the end of the project, whereby the GeoTags actually mean something. They mean something because they've been collected consciously, and they've been collected with need right the way in the field all the way through. And I think that's really important for the GeoTag story. And of course, we're going to see better data integration with asset facility management applications. So you can create links directly to GeoTags. And of course, we've got internal solutions like Hexagon SDX2 and EAM, which stands for Enterprise Asset Management, both of which are having direct integration with the Reality Cloud Studio platform. There's also some very cool things we can do with our API. So if you want to learn more about that and you have a particular need to get data to and from external sources, then do contact us and we can guide you through that process, because there's a lot of power there. We're working with some customers in that regard. So in terms of the whole GeoTag story, of course, we have this improved and harmonized user experience across field, office, and cloud. So it doesn't matter where you're working, you should see that same categorization manager, the ability to add your GeoTags in exactly the same way. That will only improve over time. So this is, absolutely, this is phase 1 of that harmonization project. The data is fully preserved end to end. You upload and attach a PDF in the field to Field 360. You can access that in Reality Cloud Studio. When you stream that back to CloudWorks, you can see the same file. So it really is highly connected. And it's also backwards compatible with existing GeoTags. So if you've got a file that already has GeoTags, you can add that to Reality Cloud Studio and all of that information will come through. There's also a copy function. So if you've got, you've uploaded, you've got a legacy file and you've got a new file, you can copy. There's a button that says copy your geotags from one project to the other, and that's really, really important. A lot of customers taking advantage of that. So yeah, keep your eye on for further improvements. But what we're going to do now is we've got about a 4-minute video where we're going to go through and look at all of these enhancements at every step from capture through to delivery. So the first part of the process is obviously working with Leica Cyclone FIELD 360. Now, I would imagine that a high proportion of people on the call today are going to already be using Cyclone FIELD 360. But what you can see here now is, like I said, this harmonization of the UI across all the different applications. So we've now got the full categorization manager, and you can color code all this. But the key point is that you can edit this, and all the edits that you make and all the lists that you create, they can all be changed in the field directly. They can be edited. And then when you push that data through to Reg 360 and LGSX, eventually all of that comes through. Now you can attach files directly in the field. So whether that's images or PDFs, or maybe you want to add URLs. Now it might be that you don't have a PDF, for example, but you want to attach it. Of course, as long as you can do that in Reg 360, you could do that in Reality Cloud Studio. It now doesn't really matter because it's all within the same user experience. But ultimately, the goal here is to get your data out in as fast and easy a method as possible, and also to make sure that you're comfortable and your field engineers are comfortable, creating them, and in the knowledge that when they're creating them, there's going to be value downstream. And I think this is, really, really important. You can also quickly view this information. So if you click on a geotag, you can now hover over the panel. So you'll see the interface is starting to look very similar to Reality Cloud Studio, in fact. Now let's look at the next stage of getting data into Register 360 Plus. So you can see here, we're in Register 360 Plus. We have all of our geotags on the left-hand side that have been imported from that project. And now we can click on the category manager, and we can actually create new categories directly within the category manager in Register 360 Plus. We can colorize the categories accordingly, and we can recategorize that geotag. So you can see now we're going to update the geotag on the right-hand side. So we've updated it. We've also updated the label. We're going to look at the condition, and we can update that. Now we push that information to LGSX, and of course we can then open that data, or once it's uploaded and processed, we can view that data in Reality Cloud Studio. So what you're going to see now, we're in Reality Cloud Studio. We're going to open that file, so that same LGSX that's been uploaded. We go to here, we've got limit box, so we can just very easily kind of find the area we're interested in. We could use levels, limit boxes, zones, whatever you want to call it, to get down to the information we're interested in. And here you can see we've got the geotag that's come through. We can click on the geotag card. You can see the preview of the number of links and everything on that card. But now we can go in and we can edit it. So you can see here we can now change the condition if needs be. We can put any actions on there. So all of this has been categorized according to the user preference. You can add a description, you can add your attachments, you can add your links, but everything then is being updated. Now, the next step here, once we've done this, and you can see there's the big long list of all of the geotags, is you can actually go in and you can change your categories in real time. So here we're going to add a value. So we've said we need to clear the obstruction. So you can see that's there now. We can reorder that accordingly. So that will depend, where that comes on the list is up to our preference. So we can now go back into that same geotag, can go to our actions, and we can now say clear obstruction. So anyone jumping into that project and seeing that list of geotags is able to see the changes that we've made. And here I'm just going through and showing all of the different lists. Now the final stage, going from the cloud back to the office. If you're already using CloudWorks, you may already use TrueSpace. Now TrueSpace is incredibly powerful. It allows you, so you can see what we're going to do here is connect to our cloud, connect to the cloud in Reality Cloud Studio. So we're streaming that same asset directly into CloudWorks. We click on our point cloud using the TrueSpace tool, and you'll see now we're in TrueSpace. Now this will sync the 3D view in the Pro versions of CloudWorks, but you can see all of the geotags. So that exact same information is available in the CloudWorks workflow. So what you've seen there is that whole end-to-end process of going from the field to the desktop to the cloud and then back to the desktop again through streaming, which means all of these people connected into the ecosystem can see that information. So I hope you enjoyed that. It's the simplest way we could show that process in a webinar, But if you need a workflow demonstration, just reach out to us and we'll go through that with you. So yeah, that's just a summary of what we discussed. Now, in terms of performance optimization, we are constantly improving the platform. Something we did recently was actually improve the speed of our meshing. Now, I saw about 50% reduction in mesh creation times after that update earlier in the year, and we didn't make a big song and dance about it. It's just one of those things that we're able to update the servers, we optimize the code, and we're able to deliver a better performance. But we are actually explicitly now working on some other things to improve the general look and feel, the speed and the snappiness of everything. So the first thing that we've done for those people who are based in this part of the world is add our Asia Pacific server. So we have a new data center in Australia. That's in addition to obviously our Irish server, Middle East, US and Canadian. And over time, obviously as we get more customers in more regions, we can start to expand this and look at other places. But as of yet, we've had no customers complain about the fact that the data is in these locations. Still ISO 27000, SOC 2, single sign-on where available, and if signed up to a certain subscription level, and multi-factor authentication. So all of the security stuff backs you up. But yeah, having a local data center which serves that part of the world reduces latency, increases the customer experience, and genuine enhancement of the workflow. So I think everyone in the team is proud of that update. Now, these are some of the things that, again, like I said, you might not see. So we have our streaming performance and project management. So we are actually currently, for newly uploaded E57, LAS, and B2G, we're seeing a 15 to 50% reduction in the data that is streamed in the browser or to the desktop clients. And we're seeing quite a big reduction in the GPU usage on the user's machines as well. So this will all start to roll out from our user acceptance testing to production very, very soon. The support, the changes and the updates to LGSX will come later in 2026. But they're two very important streaming performance enhancements. Now, the next one is project management. We got this question all the time, but administrators will now be able to export usage metrics for the account to a CSV. And that includes your upload, your download, and your processing transactions by user. So you're actually able to see at the user level who is using the platform, how they're using the platform. And that, of course, depends how you've set them up. There might be a viewer, in which case they can only view and they can't download or process any data. So you probably end up being able to see their streaming capabilities, for example, their streaming usage, for example. But coming in Q2, we'll have metrics by project. So at the minute, this is at the account level by user. Q2, a big push for projects. And we get that because people want to understand how much they can cross-charge internally or externally. But they're both very, very important things that we've added, plus obviously the Australia server. So hopefully you'll start to see the general improvement in the platform in terms of stability and streaming performance over the next few months as these updates get rolled out. So let's do a very quick summary just to make sure that we're happy that we've covered everything today. So we've had our success story with McNeil, which was really interesting. So it was lovely to speak to Elizabeth, and hopefully you got a lot from that. Two nice projects with some various videos we showed during that presentation at the same time. So they're actively using the solution. They're enjoying the solution. They're enjoying the benefits of putting their data in the cloud. Then we talked about scenes improvements, so the ability to bring all these scenes together from our existing assets within our projects. That is just going to get better and better and better. This is really the beginning point for that, but we've got a lot of people who've been asking for that. And also, scenes will improve as we start to add more capability from the traditional project. So, for example, the GeoTags, the limit boxes, the levels, the stuff that we have in a single asset as we bring that across into scenes. GeoTags is a big part of where we want to push here. Lots and lots of customers now using GeoTags, lots not using GeoTags. So this is exactly the time to start thinking about how you can use it within your projects. Of course, we looked at briefly the point cloud performance updates which are coming, and the account level insights, and of course the Australia data center. And I'm imagining that we've had plenty of questions during today's session as well. So on that note, I just want to say if there are any questions other than what you've asked in the widget, you can of course talk to us directly. So you can scan this QR code. So I'll leave that up there for a few seconds while I'm talking. If you've got any media or partnership requests, then you can speak to Nelly. Her email address is there. Feel free to reach out to us. But you can also reach out to me. I'm on LinkedIn. Just search for Paul Burrows, or paul.burrows@hexagon.com. You can reach out to me directly. I'm more than happy to talk to you about adopting our cloud solutions. But on that note, I just want to say thank you so much for your continued support. We've got a huge number of registrations for this event again. Hopefully a huge number of you managed to attend. If you're watching the recording, thank you as well. We also see, we see often 2 to 3 times the number of people watching the recording as the live session. But yeah, I just want to thank you for your support, and hopefully you're really enjoying these updates. I mean, everything is just incremental. We've got lots of developers. There's lots of big things coming for Reality Cloud Studio in 2026, which obviously I've got to remain tight-lipped about. But I genuinely feel excited about this and the direction, and I want you guys to feel excited as well. So take care of yourselves. We'll catch up soon. Hopefully we'll have another session in Q2 where we look at the other functionality that will be coming then. But for now, enjoy scenes, enjoy GeoTags, enjoy the enhanced performance, and we'll catch up with you very, very soon. So take care. Bye-bye.